Welcome to the ISCORE softball stat training. So the very first thing is we need to locate the app. So we're going to go ahead and click on it, and it's going to bring us to the face of the ISCORE. So the very first step we want to always make sure we do is we want to go into League Manager, and we need to make sure that the league that we are doing it for is selected. So we have multiple leagues that use some of the same devices. The men's will use the same device on Monday that the women will use on Wednesday nights, and so sometimes the previous league will still be selected. And so right here to the right, we want to make sure that the right league is selected and that it's green. And so we're going to go ahead and select the 2020 Men's A League, and right there it turns green, and so now it's selected. So now the next step is we want to create our game. So we go to Game Manager. Now some of the older version of iPads has a different screen, and it doesn't show these softball or these baseball players. It will just have a green screen, and it will have a baseball in the background that just says ISCORE, but it has the same options and the same menus. And so we want to go to the Game Manager, and this screen right here will show all the games that were listed that has been played. And so these are previous games, and you want to make sure you don't ever touch any previous games. You leave those alone. But you want to add a game. And so we're going to go ahead and go to the top right, and it's going to say Add Game. And here we need to make sure that we always select the right visitor and the right home team. And so you click on visitor, and it will list all the teams that are in that league. And so that's another way you can tell if you're in the right league, is if the team you're doing stats for is not listed here, hurry and go back to the League Manager and make sure it's selected right. And so that's kind of a good reminder that as well. If it's not listed here, it should always be listed here. If it's not listed, you're in the wrong league. So we're going to go ahead and have Darren be the visitor, and we're going to go back to the home, and we're going to have Jesse be home. Now we're going to say done, and it's going to take us back to the Game Manager list. And if you notice, our game that we just barely created is at the very top. And it has no F for final, it has no final score, and it hasn't started, it has today's date. And so we're going to go ahead and click on that game, because that's the game we are going to score. And so now we get to go, we're going to go to the top right where it says Score Game, and we're going to click on that. So now it automatically pops up your lineup, and if you look at the very top in the center, it tells you the captain's name, and that's the Jesse's lineup is showing now. If you go to the bottom, you can switch between visitors lineup and the home lineup. And so if you are scheduled to ever do stats, you want to make sure that you get there early and get the lineup from the captain. You can go to them and ask for the lineup, because the minute you get this lineup in before the game, it'll make the game go a lot smoothly, and you'll have less delays, and the team will be able to play a lot more because you won't have to delay the game by fixing the lineup because you did it before the game even started. And so this is Jesse's lineup here, and we're going to just, how you can drag and drop it is you're going to just see these three lines on the right. You can just hold it down with your finger, and you can drag and drop it however you want. And so you can bring it that way and so on. So yeah, and usually if you have a helper, your helper can read the lineup off to you, and it makes it a little bit easier. But if you don't have a helper, just look back and forth and enter it in. So let's say that we have our lineup, and that Nick is not going to be there. And so if you notice next to his name and next to all their names, it has the defense position. So this column right here, it says Nick Young, and then it says 1B. 1B means first base, and that's his defense position. Some of them will be blank, whether because they're the DHing that night or they're not playing defense and they're going to sit out that night, but they're going to bat. Anyways, and so Nick is not coming. So go to batting next to his name and say no, he's not batting. And make sure if they're never not there because they're not batting, you have to make sure their defense is blank. So even though we'd said, yeah, he's not there, he's not batting, if you leave his first base on his defense, then it will give him all the defense stats for, and any outs that first baseman will get, it'll give it to Nick even though he didn't show up. Anyways, and so now we have Nick that he's not playing, and it said he's out defense, he's out batting. And so we only have 11 players batting, listed right there. Now we're going to switch through Darren's. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to enter his lineup, make sure his defense positions are correct. So these defense positions will automatically be filled. If the team captain doesn't come to us and give us their positions beforehand, then these ones will usually be blank. And you might have to wait to fill these out, the defense positions out, until the game starts and you see which positions they're filling out, or the captains can write on the lineup next to their name what position they're playing. And so if a captain does want to make sure their defense positions are right, they can write next to their name right field or pitcher or catch or so on. And then when you guys are when they're doing the lineup, then they can enter it as they go. And so we have the lineup ready, and this add player right here is usually, you won't ever have to usually do that unless they're pulling somebody from a lower league. So like if Darren was pulling a player from his B team and they're not listed already on this list, you will have to say add player, and you can search for their name here, and if it doesn't pull it up, then they haven't ever played an A this year so far. So like, for example, if he was going to pull up John Paul, you can type John, and John Paul's not listed on here, and so you would have to create a new player, and then you can just click their name, their last name, and just push save, and then just make sure it says starter yes right here instead of no, because if it says no, they won't show up. It'll just say batting, no batting. Anyways, and so that's where you can create a new player. Most likely you won't ever have to really do that, and if you do, then they usually tell you before the game starts anyways, and so you'll have plenty of time to do that. So our lineup is in and we're ready to go. So we can push done. And so now this is the screen. And if you notice that it has the baseball diamond, it has the different positions already filled out. So like, for example, catch Jeremy, pitch Gary. If you notice here, first base is a question mark because we didn't fill out the first base. Maybe he wasn't there. So you're going to have to see who's filling in for them. And usually if they're, before they even pitch the very first pitch, you'll see the defense players already on the field, ready to go, even before they pitch their first pitch, and you can hurry and quickly tap on it and select it. And so if you select a player that already was assigned, so if I said like Jesse right here, first base, then he was assigned other fielder, and so other fielder now has a question mark too. So you can just click on that, Garrison, right field. Anyways, and so you can so on and so forth. But you need to make sure you always push save. So if you get in here and then you don't push save, it won't save what you already did. And so you'll have to get back in and no changes will be made. Anyway, so now we are ready to play. And so you always want to push play at the left when it's going to start. So not when they're doing high fives, not when they're still warming up. You want to push play when the pitcher is ready to pitch their very first pitch and the ump says, okay, let's play ball. And so because it does time the game, and they do look at that to see if the game is dragging on, or anyways, to see how much play time you actually did get. So we're going to push play. So game started, they pitched their first pitch. If you notice down here by catcher, it says Jeremy Winters is catcher. Now it also says Ammon Jenkins is the batter. And you always need to make sure when a new batter comes up that the batter that you show and the batter that's hitting is the correct batter and that it matches. If it doesn't match, you always need to ask her or say, like, you know, if it's their first inning, then you can change the lineup. If it's not the first inning and they're batting out of order, you can't change the lineup if they've already hit. Anyways, so here's Ammon. He's going to hit. I'll quickly walk through some of the options you have. And so if you look at the very top, it has the score right here: visitor, Darren; home, Jesse, 0; inning, how many outs, how many balls, how many strikes. And so it already has a ball and a strike filled in because we already start with a ball and a strike. And then to the right, it will list the play-by-play. So if they're ever wondering, you know, who was the second out, who was the first out, then you can scroll back and scroll up and it will tell you who the first out or last out was. And so you can look that way. So here's the different menus as well. Number one is Here's a little score sheet on the bottom. If you're doing the home run rule and you need to check to see how many home runs a team has hit, you can click this score sheet down here and it will pull it up, and this is all their stats per player, and you go to the column that says HR for home runs and it will total up the home runs. Be aware that it totals up all home runs, so whether it was over the fence or an in park, it will list it the exact same way, so you'll have to remember, okay, this team got one in park and the rest is over the fence, and so on. Anyway, so if you go over here, now at the bottom it says ball, strike, foul, out, and in play. So if you got a ball, you can just say ball and it will count it in. They get another ball and another ball, they automatically will take their base. So if you notice, it moved Ammon to first and now Ben Peterson is up to hit. Anyways, and so like even same with the strike. So if you have a strike and a strike, they got two strikes, they're striking out, it'll ask you, was they looking or was they swinging? And you can click what they was doing. So he was swinging, and then it's going to ask, and so then it's going to ask you what happened to the person on base. Realize this app does softball and baseball. So baseball, you can steal bases. Some of the stuff pertains only to baseball, like stealing bases and stuff like that. And so that's why it asks you what happened to the person on base when there's a strikeout, because in baseball, you can steal bases at a strikeout. Anyways, and so now you can either say he got out or he got in play. And so it has two different menus, but you can switch it up here at the top. And so you can say in play or he got out up here at the top, and it will have how they got out. So you always have to say how they got out. Was it a pop-up, a ground out, a line drive? Did they strike out? And remember, some of these are pertains only to baseball. And so like the drop third strike is baseball, and sacrifice fly, sacrifice bunt. There's no bunting in softball, so those are only baseball. Anyways, so we're going to say Ben Peterson got out. He popped up. And so now it's going to say, where did he hit it? So you want to make sure that you tap where the ball very first hit the ground. So even if he hit a really fast line drive and it hit the ground right here by shortstop, but it rolled and it kept going because it was so fast, and it didn't get picked up until clear out here. You need to make sure you tap where it first hit. So you would tap by shortstop where it first hit, even though they did pick it up clear in the field. Anyway, so we're going to say he hit a pop fly to left field. And so so he hit there. So you're going to say next. And this app will ask you questions, and if you answer the questions correctly, then it keeps track of everything. It'll keep track of outs, it'll keep track of the score, everything for you as long as you answer the questions. And so it says, where did the ball hit? Well, it hit there. So next. Okay, well, who caught the ball or who handled the ball to get him out? And so if it was a pop fly, usually it's just one person. So it's left field, he got him out. And if you notice, it assigned that out to that person. And that's another thing is if you want the defense positions to be accurate, and we do, then you need to make sure sometimes the fielders will swap places, or you have this other fielder, even though he's over to the right, he'll move in and play right behind shortstop and he'll catch it. And you need to realize, okay, who do I have assigned what, and give that person, no matter where they're standing, if they caught the ball, that person gets credit for that out. As well as, so if he hit it to shortstop and shortstop picked it up and threw it to first, both shortstop and first would get credit for the out, and so you would just click on both. So whoever handled the ball in order for that out to happen gets credit for that out. So if shortstop picks it up, throws it to first, you click on both. Shortstop picks it up, throws it to second, you click it on both. Anyway, so in this case, left field picked it up. Now it's going to say what happened to the runner on first base. So Ammon Jenkins, what happened to him? Was he safe? Well, if he didn't run or he just stayed on first, you would just say he held up, because he didn't advance to second. So you notice that first and second, or you can highlight where he's at. And so, nope, he stayed on first and he held up. If he advanced to second or he even advanced to third, you would just select which base he advanced to, and he was advanced by the batter. So how did he get there? Did he steal it? No, because in softball we don't steal bases. So he was advanced by the batter. So, if he hit a pop fly in outfield and he tagged up and he ran, he was advanced by batter. But in this case, he held up. And that also means too, if the runner didn't tag out or tag up and he as well got out on that same play, you would just switch the very top to be out and he got tagged out. So if you look to the right here, that's what I'm saying was saying, that it lists out play by play, so you can look and see, okay, look, this was your first out, it was that person, so you can see who was the next out or whatever. Okay, next batter is this. Got a single or a double or a triple. Now, single is where they hit it to first, double is where they hit it to second, and triple is where they hit it to third base, and home run is where they hit it. They got a home run. So they rounded all the bases and they got a home run. In park and home run, you do, even though they categorize it the same, then you do want to say in park. If it was in park, if it was out of the park, you want to say how he got on. Anyway, so he can hit a double and he hit it over here next. And if you notice here, so Ammon was on first, the app already knows that, well, if the batter hit a double, Ammon's not going to be on second base. He's going to, odds are, end up at third. But if he was a really fast runner and he made it home, then you would just have to make sure you clicked home and advanced by batter. And Darren was safe. So what happened to Darren? He was safe. And so they always ask you again what happened to the batter, because so if they hit a ball really far and they're running and they get to second and then they're going to try to run to third and get a triple, but they get tagged out at third, how you record it is you would say they hit a double, they hit it clear out here, way to go, Darren was on the base, so he came home. And okay, now what happened to the batter, which was John England, and he hit a double, but he got tagged out at third. So you would just say he got tagged out, and you could change this top piece where it says safe or out. So he hit a really good hit, but he got tagged out because he was trying to advance an extra base. So he got tagged out right there. And so who tagged him out? Well, shortstop got it, and he threw it into third, and third tagged him. Okay, so that way John got credit for the double that he hit, but he did get out. And so instead of it hurting his batting average, then he still got credit for the double he hit, but then the team got the out as a team. And so if you look up here, it says Darren has 2 points and 2 outs. And so Eric Freeman is up to hit right here. And so now, so that's how you can record a play. And the main thing you want to notice is it's going to ask you questions. And if you say, it's always going to ask you kind of in a circle. So the very first thing it's going to ask you is, it's going to ask you what happened to the batter. And so it asks, what happened to the batter? And then it's going to go to the left, and it's going to ask you, what happened to third base? The runner on third. If there's no runner on third, it's going to go to second base. If there's no runner on second, it's going to go to first. Then it's going to go back to the batter. So it's basically a circle. And so once you get the hang of it, you're going to be able to score it really fast, and you won't even have to really read the questions, because you know, okay, it's asking me what happened to the runner on third, what happened to the runner on two, what happened to the runner on first, okay, what happened to the batter. And so it's a complete circle on the questions that it asks you. So like Eric walked, it was intentional walked, he's on base. Okay, James. And so another play that you do have to record differently is a fielder's choice. And a fielder's choice is basically when a player hits the ball, so it was basically a really bad hit. And the fielder can decide, I either throw this to the easiest base, whether it's second or third. I either throw this to the easiest base to get the out, or I can throw it to first base and get the batter out. So the fielder is deciding, okay, I'm going to get the runner out instead of the batter because the hit was a bad hit. And so say James hit it, and he didn't get out, but when he hit it, the runner on first, which it shows Eric, he gets out. And so James hits it, and he hits it to shortstop, right to shortstop. Shortstop gets it, throws it to two. Eric is out. And so how you would record that is James didn't get out, but the runner did. They need to know that this out counts as James's out because he was the one who hit it, because it was basically an out by the batter. And so you say fielder's choice, which means fielder gets to can decide, do I get the batter or the runner out? And they're going to decide, I'm going to get the easiest out, which is usually, throwing it to 2, throwing it to the closest base. So he hits it right to shortstop. Shortstop picks it up, throws it to 2. They get out. So now it's going to go into the circle, go to third base, second base, first base. So it's going to say, what happened to the runner on first, Eric? Well, he got out. He was running to 2, and he got out. So out got changed to out and gets forced out. Okay, now that was the third out, and the inning's over. And so that way the out will not count on Eric, but it will count as the batter again. Count on the batter for his stats. Anyways, and so now we have a new inning. We have the new players hitting, and if you notice that the batter up here is highlighted, Jeremy Eldon is up to hit. This is the lineup. This is the other team's lineup. Anyways, and so on and so on. So let's say that the player that, Jesse England finally got here, and we're going to put him at the top of the lineup. The lineup, they haven't hit, so Jesse's team hasn't hit. It's the bottom of the first. So we're going to change the lineup. And how you do it is you go to miscellaneous down at the bottom, and it will say show starting lineup. And so this is the lineup, and okay, Jesse's finally here. We're going to throw him at the top because we haven't hit it and we need him. We're going to have him right there. So I changed my lineup right here. Okay? And we're going to say done. So now it shows Jesse hitting. And so another thing you need to realize is if you ever have a player, or if you ever are going to change the lineup, you cannot change the lineup if they have already hit. So say you had the top 3 right here already hit, and they're going to move somebody in the 4th position to hit. If they haven't hit, you can change it. But once they hit, the lineup has to stay, if that makes sense. And so you cannot change the lineup once they have already hit it. Let's say Nick even showed up. He finally showed up, and and we left him there, and all we have to do is say batting, yes. First base, yes, he's playing defense. That was batting. Anyway, so we don't ever want to change the lineup after that person has hit it. It has to stay in that lineup. If you did change the lineup, so like say, okay, we already hit it, each player hit it twice, and we're going to just, for some odd reason, remove Garrison, then every single hit he hit that day will go to Jesse, because Jesse will change to lineups to be position 6, and so on and so on. Anyways, that might be a little bit confusing. Just know, don't ever change the lineup once they have already hit it. It has to stay. So what happens if you have a player that gets injured? So let's say Jesse is up to hit and he gets injured somehow, or he got hurt last time, and so now it's his turn to hit again. Anyways, and so if a player has to get pulled out because of injury, then he doesn't have to, you can skip him. So if he has batted and he gets pulled out because of injury, you cannot go to the lineup and just delete him. You cannot change, batting, no. So you have to leave him as batting because he did batted. He did come, he had it at bat. He needs to stay at batting, but he's injured. He's not going to play the game the rest of the night. So you need to say miscellaneous here, and you're just going to say skip batter. And every single time that Jesse's up to hit, you're going to have to remember to skip him. And it's going to say, does this skip count as an out? Well, if he gets injured and they have to pull him out, it shouldn't ever count as an out. If it's where the player, for some odd reason, got lost during the game, got distracted, was over warming up and didn't realize it was his turn to hit, and the captain says skip him, then that will count as an out. If you're ever not sure, ask your ump. And you can ask your ump, does this count as an out? Does it not count as an out? What should I do? And the ump can help you. The ump's on your team, and he can help you to know the right way to do it. Another thing that I forgot to mention is right here where it says end half inning. So say a team doesn't have enough players and they have to take an automatic out every inning, or have to take an automatic out at the end of their lineup, and so you have to end it after 2 outs. And so how you do that is you just go to this miscellaneous and you say end half inning, and it will automatically go to the next team, and that will count as like a 3rd out. And so that you don't have to assign the out to any player, it just ends it and goes to the next team batting. And then at the very end, you can just say end game, and the game's over. And so also, if you notice down here, there's an undo button. So say if I got Jeremy and he's up to bat, and I say, oh yeah, he got a single, and yep, next, everything's good, he gets held up, and I look, and I get done recording it, and then wait, okay, he got tagged out at first. I thought he was going to be safe. You can just quickly just say undo, and now he's batting again, and you can hurry and say, nope, he got out. It was a grounder or a pop-up. They got him out. Right field caught it. Done. And so you can always do undo and restart the play over and enter it correctly that way. And so, so that concludes the ISCORE training. And if you have any questions, like I said, you can ask the ump, but it is each player's responsibility to get experienced enough in ISCORE and get trained in stats that they don't ever have to delay a game. And just realize when you're playing, you don't want your game to be short. Mostly we want the iPad to always be as most accurate as it can be. If you wondered what these lines are on the diamond right here, then how it has the green line and has the 2 red ones, those are where he has hitted in the past. And so the green line is the ones that he's gotten on. The red lines are the ones that he's gotten out. And so it's kind of neat where you can see the hitting positions. And that's another reason why they want you to touch where the ball has landed, so that the defense knows where to stand and to get him out and everything like that. Anyways, and so that concludes it, and it brings me back to here, and I get the exit, back to the game, everything like that.